I found the holy grail of longevity. But there's one issue, something that is blocking people like myself from seeing the clear path to a long, healthy life. This one thing has become so normal in our culture, and even more so over the last few years. My family does it. When I walk into a room, everyone there I know is doing it. Heck, even my dog is doing it. We live with it continuously, and it's probably killing you. If there is one thing that is extremely clear about all the data from my interviews, it is that centenarians do not stress. A reasonable person would have to ask, how do these centenarians in Okinawa not stress in times like these?
The danger of AI is much greater than the danger of nuclear warheads by a lot.
As Ukrainian forces battle Russian troops in the Donbass.
Is the U.S. headed for a recession?
Like, they almost don't stress at all. And it always amazes me because I meet and speak regularly with these centenarians. And when I first started interviewing elderly / blue zone / longevity Okinawans, whatever you want to call them, I ask every single time, how do you de-stress? These men and women literally smile at me and say, I don't know, I just don't stress. Great, just great. Thanks guys, you don't stress. So what does that leave the rest of us normal people thinking about the issues of the world?
Bank of Japan, the BOJ, is raising interest rates for the first time in 17 years today.
All these things that we're talking about right now, they don't think about it, they just live their lives. Don't you think that that's a happier life or not?
So outside of just believing them completely, it left me with one thing I could do. I had to evaluate their lifestyle from the outside in.
So what do I find out, man? What do I find out? There is no Pepe Sylvia.
But the more I investigated, the more I discovered that these people truly do not stress. You or anyone else can apply these to your own life. Number 1, Okinawans touch dirt. Is that a weird way to say it? Because I mean it quite literally. Don't just go out into nature, put your hands into it. Many people call this grounding. If you have your feet on dirt, hands, feet, whatever, your body. And it's a provable thing. Most Okinawans played the Stonewall game, but a few said, "Tsuyo sawatta hoga ii," which means, well, if I had to give advice, it'd probably be that you probably should touch dirt, something like that. And I said, oh yeah, like be in nature. And they said, yeah, but actually you have to go out and plant something and sow some seeds and sprinkle some fertilizer, etc., etc. Back in the day, we would call this an urban myth. But at this point, we have the data to prove it. So let's look at this article here and jump to the screen. Right off the bat, community gardening, stress, well-being, and resilience potentials. So you can read this yourself, scroll some more, but I just want to show you a bit of the conclusion they got, which is in the abstract here. Community gardeners reported higher levels of resilience and optimism than the non-gardening control group. These novel results indicate some potential for mental health benefits in urban environments, specifically in terms of subjective well-being and resilience. Let's look at another article. Allotment gardening and other leisure activities for stress reduction and healthy aging. Again, going to this sub-abstract. A significant difference in perceived stress levels was observed between the activity groups. Allotment gardeners reported significantly less perceived stress than participants of indoor exercise classes. I could keep going on and on and on, but I think you get the idea. This doesn't have to be crazy. This can be gardening, or if you don't have a backyard to garden in, or a balcony that gets no sun because you live in a tiny Japanese apartment that faces away from direct sunlight like me, then you can go on a hike. You can go and walk and smell some flowers, hug some trees. It's all fair game. The second thing I noticed is that Okinawans chill with friends. Okay, wait, science first. Let's look at the screen. All right, looking at the first article, Social Networks and Longevity, a 14-year follow-up study among elderly in Denmark. After adjusting for initial health status, only the interview's assessment of the quality of the network was statistically significant associated with longevity. A feeling of loneliness was found to be associated with cardiovascular mortality, especially for males. Let's look at another one. Social connectedness, functional capacity, and longevity, a focus on positive relations with others. Scroll down to the conclusions. The results show that positive relations with others, a component of a well-lived life that describes sustained investment in social relationships that are mutual and trusting, is associated with two key health outcomes in aging adults: functional limitations and longevity. Let's look at one more article. Social relationships and physiological determinants of longevity across the human lifespan. We found that a higher degree of social integration was associated with a lower risk of physiological dysregulation in a dose-response manner in both early and later life. Conversely, lack of social connections was associated with vastly elevated risk in specific life stages. Now, this is not an article, not a research article, but this is a post featuring someone, and it says, "I'm a longevity expert and I'm begging you to stop canceling your social plans." It says right here, there are a bunch of memes on social media that all play off the same joke, a love of canceling plans with friends at the last minute. But Christal Burnette, a media promoter for the Okinawa Research Center for Longevity Science and a specialist in Okinawan health, says she doesn't find the punchline funny. Yes, the science backs that positive human relations and social relations are extremely beneficial in a signaling factor of your longevity. Now, I know memes like this are all over the internet and they're funny. And trust me, I get it. Sometimes I just don't feel like hanging out with people. Sometimes. But every single time I force myself to hang out with people, I truly never ever regret it. It always makes me feel better afterwards, and it's related to longevity. So in the digital world, this one is more important than ever. I grew up before the internet, when we had to go home before the sunset, blah blah blah, but I think these days it is the opposite. But the science still shows the same thing. You must go out, even if you have to force yourself and be social. Canceling is genuinely killing you. The third thing I see consistently is that they possess a great amount of mindfulness of many different kinds. Now, what does that mean? Mindfulness is defined as maintaining a moment-by-moment awareness of our thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and surrounding environment through a gentle, nurturing lens. And again, back to the screen for the facts. An exploration of relationships among mindfulness, longevity, and senility. There are a few studies in this research paper. Just want to read out a few. You can read the rest yourself. Study 1 found a positive relationship between mindfulness and longevity. A follow-up study to a mindful memory enhancement procedure revealed that S's given this treatment were more likely to be alive and healthy than those in comparison groups. Another research article, telomere length correlates with subtelomeric DNA methylation in long-term mindfulness practitioners. These results may suggest that long-term meditation could be related to epigenetic mechanisms. Yeah, mindfulness and meditation can lengthen your telomeres. Those are at the end of your DNA and they shorten as you age. When I interview Okinawans about the war, they almost always say, I didn't never even think about the war. I hadn't thought about that in years. You gotta remember that the Battle of Okinawa was one of the most brutal and bloody battles of the entire World War II. They do share their sadness, but they do not let it affect their present life. They just think of the present moment. And with that, they always, always, always say that the world needs to be at peace and that they never wish what happened on Okinawa to ever, ever happen again anywhere else. If that's not a peaceful, gentle, appreciative perspective on life, I don't know what is. As I said, simple doesn't mean easy, but it seems to be the fountain of youth for many.